Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Dorothy. I'm a professional astrologer. You can find me on the web at nhastrologer.com. Click that little letter I in the corner of this video and the drop down card will bring you right to my website. So today I want to talk about the month of August, and I'll do this for each of the zodiac signs. But as a preference, I want you to take quick notes here and remember these things first, and then I'm going to get into each individual sign. Got quite a few things going on in August. I've got at least 20 things to talk about. But a couple of the main things that are going on that are very, very important is this whole month we still have Venus in her retrograde motion in the sign of Leo. And with Venus retrograde, this is that time period where we're reevaluating our values. We're reevaluating some love relationships and partnerships. And we really can be even working on our own self-esteem and our own values and the things that we value just personally about ourselves, because that Venus energy does represent very personal energy. All right, so keep that in mind when I talk about Venus throughout the specifics of each of these videos. And I also want to mention that in the first couple weeks, the first week's actually pretty much close to the first 10 days of August, we have quite a few planets at the final 1 or 2 degrees of each of their respective zodiac signs, and mainly it's Saturn at 28 Scorpio, Venus and Jupiter are both at the 28 and 29th degree of Leo. And when we have these energies, when planets are at the end of the zodiac signs, it creates a sense of urgency. So up until I talk about August 11th, before then, Venus and Saturn and Jupiter transits are all going to have a feeling of urgency around them. So just remember that, and let me get to the details of what's going on now. Okay? All right, Capricorn, this is for you and those with Capricorn rising. So on August 1st or August 2nd, depends on where you live in the world, Saturn will be stationary to move direct. It is at 28 degrees of Scorpio, so there's that intensity I was mentioning just a minute ago. And for you, it is in your solar 11th house. It's been in the 11th house for a while, for a couple of years now at least. And with the energy of Saturn stationary, that means it's just a major, major focus on building and making sure our foundations are nice and strong in the sector that it is stationary. And that represents your social endeavors. So if Saturn's been moving through that sector, social endeavors, friendships, groups, things that you feel like driven to be a part of. When Saturn moves through that sector, we tend to thin that out a little bit. We're not frivolous, we just really mean it. Or we're a person who's organizing things to really get the world going, you know, like protests or just bringing information to people's awareness so we can see what social changes can happen. Saturn stationary in that sector for you guys with Capricorn rising is what that's all about right now. So you already can feel it. It's been going on for quite a few years. It's just the stationary piece has made it so it's very abundantly clear that you need some change, or of the changes you've made for yourself over the last couple of years. Now, I want to add to that by excuse me, telling you about some Leo energy that's going on here in the August time period. So August 3rd to the 6th, we have retrograde of Venus in Leo. So again, as I've mentioned, go watch my Venus retrograde video, if you will. And that energy represents, you know, really being careful about the relationships you're in, or working through karmic relationships, especially the love relationships. But it's also about the financial piece and making sure we're not overspending. If we did, then we're probably having to pay things back. Now that Venus and Jupiter are conjunct on the 4th, you know, that energy does represent being very creative, but also being creative with our finances or our love relationships. Mercury is involved in this as well, so that means we need to communicate things better to whomever is involved with us. And all 3 of these planets, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter, make a square aspect to Saturn. And so that goes from the 8th house, and the 8th house represents outside resources and finances, to the 11th house, which is that creative place I was telling you about for our social endeavors. This could easily be that you've loaned a friend some money as well. The 11th house represents our friendships as well. So you might have even lent somebody some money when it's time for them to pay you back and you need it and they can't do it. Because there's a financial component to all these Venus, Jupiter stuff, but there's also a friend component because of the 11th house, and that Saturn and Scorpio energy means that there's a transformation of something. The things that are not steady and strong don't tend to stick around with Saturn and Scorpio. So there's a lot going on this first week of August. It's quite busy. And then we're going to top it off with August 8th, Mars moves into Leo. Again, into your 8th house, so that means there's activity for the next 7 weeks. And this is going to, Mars moving through there is going to reignite the areas of that Jupiter was when it was moving through Leo for the last year. So any financial situation, especially for you with Capricorn rising, has this component in August, a component of completion or bringing things to the surface so you can face. On the 11th of August, with Jupiter moves into the sign of Virgo. It leaves Leo, it's been in there for a year, moves into Virgo. That goes into your solar 9th house. Now Jupiter is in charge of the 9th house. It rules the 9th house in the natural chart. Jupiter is not a fan of being in the sign of Virgo because Jupiter is about expansion. It's considered in its detriment there. Because I know I'll get questions on that. Before we knew Neptune existed, Jupiter was in charge of Pisces. If Jupiter is in charge of Pisces, its detriment is the sign of Virgo. It's because Jupiter is all about expansion and not knowing boundaries. Virgo wants all those details. Wants all the details. Everything needs to be bullet pointed. Virgo is here to keep the world organized, and it means that Jupiter is here just to say, whoa, let me get bigger. So, it's going to take us a little while to get used to Jupiter in the sign of Virgo. We will. It'll only be there for a year, but it'll just take us a few weeks to get used to it. But in the meantime, for you, it's in that 9th house, so you might want to take some classes. You know, that 9th house is about expanding our awareness in higher education. So I think of it more as a metaphysical studies, not necessarily college. But you'll decide what works best in your chart. Or you can call me, you know what to do. My website's out there. On the 14th of August, we do have the new moon in the sign of Leo, and with the new moon in the sign of Leo, it does make a conjunction to Venus, who's still retrograde in Leo. I'm going to create a separate video for the new moon and the full moon forecast, like I always do. Subscribe to my channel, you'll be notified when they're up. But somewhere around the 7th to the 10th, I'll have this one up. Again, this new moon goes on in the 8th house, so that means your focus is on outside resources. And outside resources means like school loans, mortgages, credit card bills, car debt. And sometimes it's inheritances and taxes. Alright? Yeah, sex is part of the 8th house too, but this is more of a financial thing right now. On the 23rd of August, the sun moves into the sign of Leo, into your 9th house. So again, more about expanding your knowledge and expanding your awareness. Maybe you're going to finally start teaching something. Capricorns tend to be in charge of things and love to be in charge of things. On the 26th, the sun conjuncts Jupiter already in Virgo, again in your 9th house. So this seems like a great opportunity to either travel or to learn or to teach. On the 29th, we have the sun, the full moon. So the sun's in Virgo, the moon's in Pisces. 6 degrees is where this new moon, this full moon is, full moon. On the 31st, the sun is opposite Neptune in Pisces. So that means the new moon and Neptune are conjunct. So 29th, 30th, 31st, between your 9th house and your 3rd house, where all that Pisces energy is. That Pisces energy is in your 3rd house right now. Well, it is. If you have Capricorn rising, it's always there. And you're going to be a little confused about what contracts are telling you about communications. You're going to have to give it some time, let the sun burn off that fog. So wait until a couple days into July, and into September before I am filming this in June. So give it a few days at the end of August for things to clear out a little bit, so things won't be quite so foggy for you. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Please come find me on the web, nhastrologer.com. Subscribe here. You can be informed whenever the new videos are up. I'm creating a lot. Thank you for watching, and blessed be, and namaste.